think there is something happening in the world today with respect to Israel. And it's very hard to describe what exactly is happening, but I think lots of people are feeling it. Something's changing. A few years ago, we reached the 70-year anniversary of the State of Israel. It was founded in 1948. In 2018, we celebrated the 70th anniversary. And I wrote an article at that time that tried to explain how the story was changing. For so long, I think most of us have thought about Israel, for good reasons, as a small country surrounded by enemies. And in the beginning, it was also very poor, and people were trying to move there as immigrants. It was always in danger. 70 years later, now 72 years later, the situation is very different. Israel has become strong. Israel has become safe. Even this year, we see 3 new Arab states, in addition to the 2 Arab states that have already made peace with Israel, now making new peace. So it's both happening in the US and in the Western world, but it's also happening in the Near East as well. It's happening in the Arab world. Even the Arabs, the Muslims, feel like something is changing. And so I think that when people read this article, I think they see that there's more to this story, that the story is much bigger, much deeper than they thought it was. I think for most people, Israel is a black box, right? If they know of Israel, they know it's in the Bible, but when it comes to the flesh and blood Israelis, they don't know much about them. Who are these people? Where do they come from? What's their life like? And as Israel becomes stronger, becomes more secure, I think Israel is becoming more and more known to people. And I think this article seems educational because it brings people inside that moment. It brings people inside that society to see how this society is evolving over time. I think it's hopeful because there seems to be, more than ever, the possibility of peace. Right? It's been the story of Israel until now has been war. The last few years, we are seeing really the first true rays of light, the prospects of peace. Nations that none of us would have ever imagined would make peace with Israel are making peace with Israel. That is hopeful, right? This idea that Israel will forever be surrounded and attacked and everybody will always be trying to kill the Jews. I think there's something to it, and for sure there are still enemies of Israel. Let's not lie to ourselves. But suddenly there are friends, and the friends are growing. And that's hopeful for someone like me who cares about Israel, cares about the Jewish people. The idea that other people feel the same way is incredible. I think prophetic is a difficult word to explain, but it touches on this feeling that we feel, which is that this state, this little tiny state of Jews, is no longer David the little shepherd boy. It has grown up, and it's David the king, and it's not exactly clear what comes after that. There's a feeling that that things are moving toward the future, that there is a point on the horizon, and the Jewish state is moving toward that point. And it's very hazy, right? There's a fog still over the land, but we know that something is coming. We feel it. And I tried my best in this article to sort of gaze through the fog and to try to understand what it is that's coming up next. And I don't know that I got it exactly right, but to the extent that I got some of it right, I think people see that and they think, okay, yeah, there is movement here. There's something in the future that we're approaching, and we need to change our minds about how we think about Israel, right? And that's really what this article is about, is not just that Israel's changing, but that we, the friends of Israel, need to also change as it changes. I think it's optimistic because it's hopeful. The 2 words go together, right? There is good things. There are good things happening in this country, in the neighborhood of this country. Israel also, people don't know this, Israel, the state of Israel, the official government, has a humanitarian aid arm, and it is working actively, not only in the region where Israel is, It's in Africa, it's in Europe, it's in Eastern Europe, it's in Central America, it's in Asia, it's in South America. Israel has sent people all over the world to do good for others. And I think that is optimistic. The prospects of partnership, of working not only to help the Jews, but working with the Jews to help other people is, to me, that's very exciting. This idea of not just supporting Israel, but working with Israel, collaborating with Israel, walking in the same direction side by side. That gives me a lot of hope, optimism, and I can't wait to see where it goes in the near future.